I think I've made enough videos about the American education system, right? Y'all know my views on it, okay? I'm not the biggest fan. And the reason is, I especially when you get on to like college, the education system is more about just kind of taking your money and giving you like the illusion that you're gonna get taught versus actually, teaching you. It's more based on like how you can learn and how you're meant to gather these skills, right? Somebody laid it out to me and explained to me like why they think it is the way it is, and it's basically like so jobs will see that you'll commit to something and whatever, man. I think that's totally valid. But I also think if you're paying for an education, right, I think they should probably help you get educated, man. And the experience I had today is just, it's one that I've had way too many times with the college that I'm in, man. I'm in a community college. And it's just, it's a reflection of, I think, the entire school system, right? This is basically my entire experience with the school system as a whole. So let me lay this out for you. I recently signed up for my new semester of classes, and I got into this English class, and it just happened to be it was like one of the only ones left, so I signed up for it, and it was like, all right, it's online, right? It's asynchronous to the teacher. I didn't realize that, I guess, when I signed up for it. But when I saw it the other day, I was like, okay, it's no big deal. I can easily handle something like that, right? It's online work, right? So I go on the little classroom page, right? Let's just call it Google Classroom, because that makes it a lot easier. It's not actually Google Classroom, but I went on the little Google Classroom page, right? And I see, there's a section that's like assignments, okay? So I head over there, I look at the syllabus. The first thing I do is I download the syllabus, I copy it all into like my documents. I have all the work laid out in the class, which is really nice. It's super awesome. And then I'm like, all right, week 1, I see some assignments, so I go to get started on them, right? And, this isn't stuff that I have to do, like, now. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna get ahead. I'm really gonna try and get ahead because I've fallen, I'm not the best with managing schoolwork. Like, I have a whole nother career outside of school with making videos. And on top of that, I have the art stuff. And on top of that, I'm getting a job, right? There's all this other stuff that I have to worry about that's just not really related to school. So I have a lot of trouble caring about, quite frankly, and really keeping up with my schoolwork. So I'm like, all right, I have time to do this work now. I'm really going to try and get as much work as done as I can now, right? So I do the first assignment, which is just an introduction, and I do some reading on like a poem and like a book. It's no big deal. It was really only like 5 chapters, and all was good. And I decided, all right, let me move on to the next assignment. When the next assignment was basically doing, responding to something or doing some sort of paragraph, right? Writing some sort of paragraph based on the poem in the book. And from what I read, the poem in the book really had no connection. So I was very confused on how I'm supposed to really do that in the first place. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to need some clarification, right? So I go down to the assignment, right? And this is yesterday, right? I go down to the assignment, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, there's no instructions here. Like, this isn't really telling me what to do. So I don't really know. So I'm kind of frozen for a minute. And then I just decided, all right, you know what? I've kind of done enough work. At that point, I had worked for like an hour and 30 minutes, right? I had done that introduction assignment, which took me like, 30 minutes. And then I did that reading, which was 5 chapters, right? So that took me about an hour. So I was like, all right, I've been doing enough English work. I can just leave this for some other time. And I got to get into some other work. I got to get into art, right? So I come back today, right? I come back around to do these assignments. There's 2 more assignments that I have to do. And the first one I start with was, again, that one we were talking about with that yesterday, with the poem and the paragraph, right, that I'm supposed to write about this poem in this book, right? So I go back and I'm like, all right, so clearly there's something I missed, right? There's clearly some resource that I'm not really managing, and that, that I'm not really, that I missed, right? There's some sort of instruction somewhere that I missed because I'm not really understanding the assignment at all. So I go back and I look at the assignment and I read the description, and it's like, oh yeah, just reference this thing that is somewhere on the Google Classroom page. So I'm like, okay. I look around the Classroom page and it's just nowhere to be found, right? So I'm like, okay, like, what am I supposed to do now? So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna email the teacher about this assignment for some clarification, and then I'll just get back to it some other time. But already in my head, like, my red flags are going off, man. And red flags are going off because I've been in this same situation before a couple of times, where I don't have any idea how to do something, or I have a problem with something, and the teacher doesn't get back to me, or basically just tells me, like, tough luck. Everybody else understands it, whatever, right? So I was like, all right, I was apprehensive, right? I was already like, okay, there was some red flags going up. But I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just get on to, the next assignment, right? The next assignment had the exact same problem, bro. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had the exact same problem. It just said, write about something, and then didn't really give any instructions. And this was a major assignment. It was like something that was worth like a significant portion of the grade. And it just said, write about this. It just wait. Let me pull up the description so I know exactly what I'm talking about here. Because it's just ridiculous. It is absolutely insane, man. I mean, I can be. I try my best to really work with a lot of these assignments. It's not like I'm sitting here and I'm just copping out, man. It's like these people are literally not giving the proper instructions. It's absolutely insane. This could be a different class, actually. This is a different class. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, it went away. Damn. It literally went away. Alright, let me see. Hold on. Let me pull it up here. I have them all written down. So it was a paraphrase and summary assignment. And from what I remember, it's like you have to paraphrase. There was no reading. For what I remember, you just had to paraphrase. You had to paraphrase a quote from a book, a completely separate book. And keep in mind, the other lessons we were doing was about poetry. So we're analyzing this quote about like this completely different book. This is completely disconnected from the other material entirely. And keep in mind, I had already read that book and that poem that just had nothing to do with each other. So it's just three separate things kind of starting at once. Like, this is one unit, keep in mind. And these are three very different things. We're talking about one thing that I had to do was like elements of poetry. And then the other thing was paraphrasing and summarizing, which, by the way, right, we didn't even have the resource on. We were supposed to reference this paraphrasing summary, the definitions and stuff like that, the proper way to do that stuff. There was no sheet for that, right? There was no instructions, there was no assignment, basically. So it just said fucking figure it out. Realistically, they were like, make up your own assignment and figure it out, man. And that's when I realized, like, this is not worth it. Like, this is incredibly unorganized. It just seems like these people who are putting out the assignments really just either don't care, or B, don't have an idea of, like, what they're doing. And really, I've seen this situation before, and all it's done is come crashing down on me. Like, I thought I could just figure it out and work through it. And that's what led to me getting a bad grade. So I ultimately decided, like, yo, this isn't a class, man. Like, this teacher isn't really teaching me anything. They're not making an attempt to teach me anything, and they're not really making an attempt to even work with me on the stuff. Like, there's no instructions for the assignment. These lessons are all over the place. They're all disjointed. And I'm talking like there's no possible connection you can draw between these three assignments. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, there is no fucking way, brother, that you could possibly, it's just ridiculous to me, man. It's ridiculous that somebody really got the job of a teacher and they decided like that was the best way to handle this kind of stuff, man. I'm paying for this class, you know what I mean? I would have been paying for this class. Thankfully, I dropped it. I literally just dropped it. I found an English class that's in person, and it's not during the greatest time, but whatever, it's in person. It's an English class. I'll take what I can get, man. So again, I'm just really disappointed. Like, I don't expect much from these people, man, in terms of like these assignments, right? But I expect them to like give me assignments that are like somewhat reasonable and like make an attempt to actually like teach me what's going on in these assignments. Um, so I just don't know. I don't really know what the purpose of schooling like that is. You're not really teaching me anything. And yeah, I guess you could say, oh yeah, it's another job, right? And it shows employers that you do better at another. Okay, so why don't you just look at my job experience and say that I can do a job? Because that's like not something you need school to imply. And you're using this, right? These employers are using this. It's not like they're using this to hire qualified candidates. Like they're using this, and then they're just gonna hire the person whose resume looks the flashiest and is just the most underqualified. So it doesn't really matter, anyways. But yeah, the American education system is a failure, man. I really don't understand how anybody can go through this stuff, right? Like if it works for you, you have to recognize that it's something that works for you. I play a lot of niche video games, and I'd never sit here and say that those games are like the best games ever, because realistically, they're games that are made for me, man. And you know that does kind of seem like a side tangent, but you have to understand, right? When like you're in school, man, and you're getting good grades because the school system works for you, and it you know, it serves to benefit people that are really good at picking stuff up, really good at just learning kind of on their own, don't really need much guidance. But realistically, right, most people need guidance when they learn new things, man. Okay, most people can figure out. Right, most people can figure out how things are done, right? And most people aren't fucking stupid, right? But some people, again, they just need like a little bit of guidance. They need an actual teacher to teach them through the subject. So I don't know, man. You can sit here and say, "Oh, you're just fucking stupid," and I'll just sit here and say, "Oh, you're just a fucking kiss ass," right? You're just good at school, right? So at the end of the day, man, there's obviously some reality on both parts. Like obviously, maybe my style of learning could be better accommodated, right? But also maybe these schools could just give more straightforward and better assignments and these teachers probably should just be paid more to do their jobs because it's a very important part of society, man. Like if we're not teaching these kids properly, if we're not teaching these kids correctly, they're not going to grow up to be good people. And realistically, you can't expect to have a society of functional members if, right, the teachers, right, if it's going, right, if the anomaly, right, if what's causing the problem is the teachers, you know what I mean, is how these kids are learning, right? That's just so bad. And really trying to like say that it isn't a problem and it's just you, right? That type of mentality, man, it just holds back the entire nation, okay? Quite frankly. But that's all I had to say. That's really it. Yeah. So yeah.